So I want to talk about two things here. First thing I'm going to talk about is the difference in the footwork from Sucre on the left, Perez on the right, and then talk a little bit about the throwing lanes that these guys both create, and it may actually kind of get intermixed here as I talk about it because they're basically the same thing, or they kind of go hand in hand. But first we'll look at the feet. So this is kind of what I'm looking at here when I'm looking for movement to third base, or the proper footwork to third base. So if we look at Sucre, we see a big base. So as he transfers, as he does his shuffle here, we see a big base. There's a lot of space between his feet and his knees when he moves. He doesn't really bring his heels together a whole lot. Okay, and over here with Perez, we see something slightly different. So we see his heels almost click. All right, so he's in that position. Heels are almost touching. Sucre, as he goes through the movement, he has tons of space there between his heels. He is going heel to heel, but not nearly as close as Perez. Now, a lot of young catchers are taught that on the throw to third base is a cross behind, especially on the pitch that you see Perez catch right here. Now, the reason they're taught that, their coach's reasoning is you have to clear the runner, is what they say. You have to clear the runner. So you should cross. They give them two things. One, they say you should cross your feet, so the right foot should go behind the left foot. You should cross behind to create your lane. Or they will say you should go in front of home plate. Both of those are going to be difficult movements to make, and I would suggest not doing those. The reason that I say not to do the cross behind, especially the right-handed batter, is you see here there's an umpire behind Perez. So doing a cross behind would actually throw him into the umpire, would make his throw a lot more difficult if he were to cross behind here. Now with a left-handed batter, you could probably cross behind. So you look at Sucre on the left. If he were to cross behind, that doesn't seem like it would cause much of an issue with the umpire. But there's really no need in it because he has an open throwing lane. So he doesn't need to clear much space, so he can just do the short little shuffle. It's not a big deal. But with Perez over here getting the outside pitch with a right-handed batter up, and the pitch is significantly outside, it's off the plate outside, he really has to create a lane. So he's got to move a lot to create that lane, which is why you see him move his right foot farther than you see Sucre. Sucre just gets his up and right back down. He shuffles both feet almost simultaneously, whereas Perez, his feet almost cross to create that depth or that throwing lane behind the right-handed batter. With Sucre, he really doesn't have to create much of a throwing lane. That pitch is on the outer half to a lefty off the plate, and he's already swaying his hips through that way to catch the ball. So all he has to do is just continue through that and make a snap throw to third base. So catchers out there, coaches out there, take notice of what you see here. Outside pitches to righties on the right here, see Perez. You don't have to cross over, and going in front of the batter is going to be even more difficult, more than likely. So have your guys just work on a bigger shuffle. That's all it is, just a bigger push with the right foot. They don't necessarily need to cross behind, but they just need to create more space or create more distance on this first movement here so they have a throwing lane. And then when you have an open throwing lane like you see Sucre here, or even if you have a right-handed batter and you're set up inside like Sucre is here on the left, you don't have to do as much to create your throwing lane. The lane's already there for you because you're already set up there. So it's going to shorten the movement that you make. So coaches, teach that. Players, catchers, do that. Pay attention to these movements. And work on these, understand these movements, and do these movements when you are working on that throw to third base.